Welcome back. Today we're going over complementary and supplementary angles. To start out, angles can be named many ways based on their characteristics. So we have here a protractor down below, and we're going to name some of these angles here, and we're going to give them some characteristics. With this information, it says here that this protractor has many different angles. We're going to use the diagram to answer the questions below. So on this diagram, we have this angle, or this line here, AFE. We have a few other lines going off of these rays, and there's some information here. But basically what we're doing is we're taking this information and we're trying to find this angle here, angle CFE. So I start out with C, and I go towards the next letter, which is F. So I would write that CF, and that's that line right there. And then going from F to E, I would then draw my other line. I'm asking, what is this angle here? So I would say, hey, question mark, what is this? And that angle there, we have two options. It's 100 degrees or 80 degrees, but this is less than 90. We can tell that because 90 would be straight right here. That's less than 90 degrees, so that has to be 80. And we can see that by counting. This starts at 0 and moves up to 80. We don't start counting at 180. So that would be 80 degrees. Now erasing that one, I go ahead and try my next one. This is angle AFC. So I would write angle AFC. I go ahead and draw a line from A to F, and then from F to C, and I want to know how many degrees is that. Well, if I start counting at 0 here and count up, that goes up to 100. So I would have 100 degrees. Next slide. So with that, here we have some characteristics we're going to talk about, and we're going to try to make this be a part of the graphic above. We're going to go ahead and find some acute angles, obtuse angles, right angles, straight angles, complementary angles, and supplementary. To be acute, that has to be an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. So from the graph above, or the protractor above, you would then find some acute angles. Well, some of them would be angle DFE, angle CFD, and angle BFC. You'll notice that all three of those are less than 90 degrees. Obtuse angles. Obtuse angles measure between 90 and 180 degrees. So that means that they are larger than 90, so larger than acute angles, but not bigger than 180. Some examples of this would be angle AFC, angle AFD, and angle BFE. Now, in order for it to be a right angle, it has to measure exactly 90 degrees to where we know that it is a right angle. So to show that, the only one there that could possibly be a right angle would be angle BFD. And that's because that one, even though it's on an angle, it's 90 degrees exactly. A straight angle is a line that measures exactly 180 degrees. It sounds kind of silly, but that is a type of angle. And so with that information, we know that AFE is the only straight angle on that paper. Complementary angles. Complementary angles, they are a pair of angles that add up to 90 degrees. And notice it says they're a pair of angles. That means there's two of them. So two angles have to add up to 90 degrees. Some examples of that would be AFB and DFE. Go ahead and look at the protractor above to see what those look like, and you can tell a couple of things from there, but they will add up to 90 degrees. There's another pair in there that could add up to 90, but that's one of them. Supplementary angles, that has a pair of angles that have a sum of 180 degrees. That means that they add up to a straight angle, so we would take our problem there, and we would have AFC and CFE. Those will add up to 180 degrees. And then the next one here, BFE, and then angle AFB. They add up to 180 degrees. Okay, next slide. When writing equations from this, we are going to go ahead and write the equation, and we can solve the equation to determine the missing angle and its measure. in various relationships. Now with this information, we go ahead and just do a couple of things, but it states that we're going to find out is this complementary or supplementary on both of those. And then if it's complementary or supplementary, we're going to go ahead and write an equation to find the missing value. We're not going to actually find it, we're just starting out by writing the equation. So on this one, is it complementary or supplementary? Well, it adds up to 180 degrees, so it has to be supplementary, which means we would take our first angle, 136, and add it to our second angle. So we'd say 136 plus x, and that is equal to 180 because it is supplementary. Number 2, is this complementary or supplementary? Well, we see a right angle here, that's 90 degrees, and there's two angles, so that's one pair. That means it has to be complementary. So we would say x plus 74, and that is equal to 90 degrees. Question number 3. We need to be able to practice finding the missing angles below, and we're going to justify our answers with using specific vocabulary. With this information, we will go ahead and take the measure of angle 1 is equal to 42.8 degrees. That means this guy right here, that is 42.8 degrees, but we can see that this is a complementary pair of angles. They add up to 90 degrees. So I would go ahead and say that we have 42.8 plus something I don't know, because we don't know angle 2, x, and that equals 90 degrees. And the reason I can put it equal to 90 degrees is because this is complementary. Now finding the measure of angle 2, we would go ahead and solve this equation, and we would subtract 42.8 on both sides, and we would get 47.2 degrees. And the reason we know that, again, is because we took our equation and we solved it, and if I substitute that number back in there, then I would have 90 degrees. And some vocabulary with this is complementary. So we would say that this is a complementary pair of angles, and that would let us know what to do on that problem. Question number 4. Is this complementary or supplementary? It's supplementary, so I would go ahead and set it equal to 180, and the measure of angle 2 is 65.6 degrees, so I would have x plus 65.6 equals 180. And then from that information, I would then go ahead and subtract 65.6 from both sides, and I would find that angle 1 is 114.4 degrees. And I know this because in my equation, if I substitute that back into this problem with x, that does add up to 180. And our vocabulary for this one is it's supplementary. Because it's supplementary, I know this has to equal 180. Okay, question number 5. It says here we're going to go ahead and draw a picture to represent the situation below and then write an equation and solve. So with that information, I go ahead and start finding some keywords. It says two angles are complementary. One angle is 15 degrees, or measures 15 degrees. What is the measure of the second angle? Well, first off, there are two angles, and they are complementary, which means it adds up to 90 degrees. The second part is that the first angle is 15 degrees, so I can go ahead and draw a complementary angle, that is two angles that add up to 90. So if I draw a 90-degree angle, all I have to do is go ahead and put a line in between there to make them complementary, and the smaller one is going to be 15 degrees. The other one is going to be x, and now I can go ahead and set up my equation. That would be 15 plus x equals 90. To solve this, I subtract 15 from both sides, and I get x is equal to 75 degrees. So I know that the measure of angle 2 is 75 degrees. Last but not least, number 6, I have angle ABE and angle DBE are supplementary angles. If the measure of angle ABE is 61 degrees, then what is the measure of angle DBE? Well, there's kind of a lot into this one, but starting out, they're supplementary. So if they are supplementary, that means that they are, when combined, a straight angle. So I go ahead and take that information and say that the first one is 61 degrees. So I have my straight angle here. I then cut that straight angle by this ray here, and I take this one and say this is 61 degrees. So labeling it, I know that this is A, B, and E, because angle ABE is 61 degrees. So I go ahead and put 61 degrees there, and I know that this right here is DBE because they are supplementary to one another. And you'll notice that both of them have a BE in it. That means that this has to be the ray BE for them to be supplementary together. And with that, I take that information and I go ahead and just start my problem, putting an x there, and I get x plus 61 equals 180. I solve for x by subtracting 61 from both sides, and I get x is equal to 119. Now, in addition to that, we would go ahead and use what it's told us up here, the angle, the measure of angle DBE, so I do that. The angle DBE equals 119 degrees. All right, go ahead and finish this up by writing 2 sentences or more for what you went over today, and have a great day.